Hey, Steve Mignani here doing the Junkyard Crawl at Bernardston Auto Wrecking in Bernardston, Massachusetts with the 1964 Pontiac Catalina. Has it really been 12 years since GM pulled the plug on Pontiac in 2010? Yeah, 12 years ago they stopped building the mighty Pontiac. Well, this again is a 64, and 1964 was a big year for Pontiac, really in a lot of ways. Although the GTO arrived in 64 and really stole everybody's thunder, big cars like this still accounted for 67% of all Pontiac sales. So the intermediate cars, based on the Tempest from 61, 2, 3, 4, were still a part of the picture, but the big cars were still the mainstream of action. Now this is a Catalina. This is the base model. These were available as a two-door hardtop, as we see here, or two-door post. But again, Catalina was the base model, followed by the Grand Prix, the Bonneville, etc. But this is the basic type car. Now something kind of cool on this is how complete it is. The die-cast trim on the trunk is still here, but we can see the pitting, this acne stuff right here. And that's actually a degradation that comes from within. And even I've seen die-cast stuff like this on dealership shelves, new old stock stuff starts to bubble up. So sadly, this stuff was really not meant to last the duration. But something I see here is the trunk key right there. It says GM on it. And I've not tried to open this trunk. Maybe now is the time. Let's give it a twist and see. Okay, well, okay, well, here's the inside of this commodious 64 Catalina trunk. You know, this is the car you want if you're going to sneak your buddies into the drive-in movie. You can probably get 6 people in here, pay for 2, and get eight people seeing a movie for the price of 2. Good stuff. Here's the original wheel cover. Now that, of course, should indicate this is not an 8-lug car. We'll know more about that in a minute. The 8 lugs, of course, were those 11-inch drum brakes that were optional, but we'll get to that in a second. But moving along, we see, again, this is the two-door hardtop body without the door pillar that would be possible on the base Catalina. The rear axle, it's gone. Okay, 64 was the final year for the Hotchkiss style dropout rear axle, very popular with drag racers, the Buick and Olds and Pontiac rear axle. Don Garlits used to run one of those in his dragster, but for 1965, these cars would change drastically and go to a Salisbury type rear axle with a removable cover, the 12-bolt or 10-bolt type. But again, this is 64, the end of the era for this styling cycle. Inside, this does have a bench seat. If this was a Catalina 2+2, it would have buckets and a center console. But again, this is the bread and butter type Catalina. Now keep in mind that Catalina was a big seller, 257,768 sold in 1964. Of them, 74,793 were two-door hardtops just like this. So, you know, about 75,000 of these puppies were built back in the day. Now, something about Pontiac from 1959 onward was called wide track styling. The track on these was 64 inches wide. In other words, the distance from hub to hub, 5 inches wider than Buick, Chevrolet, and Oldsmobile. And that was all about Bunky Knudsen, head of Pontiac, his idea of making the car look wide and wide stance. Now, the only exception to that would have been Canada, where Pontiacs were based on Chevy frames. But again, the width of the hub to hub on this thing is 5 inches wider at 64 inches than a Chevy. So Pontiac wide track styling where the wheels are tucked way up. You got it. Now, this does not have the optional 8-lug wheels, which were 138 bucks extra. And what we'd have here would be an aluminum drum with 8 lugs and a chrome hoop that would bolt to that. This is the standard cast iron drum. These are 11 inches. These are certainly up to the task. Again, disc brakes not available in any Pontiac till 1967. But again, coil spring suspension. And these big drums here are similar to what they used in NASCAR in the early 60s. Now, the big thing on this one is under the hood. But before we do that, we can see here the trim tag. And if we look right there, we'll see paint code PPA, which is aquamarine metallic right there. The A would indicate a black, potentially vinyl or painted top. I can't really see if this ever had a painted roof. It's just basically got that sunburn rust effect on it. But again, aquamarine metallic on this one here. And a lot of the original paint is still present underneath this mold and crappy resprays over the years. So it's a mixture of neglect and preservation. But biggest thing of all, under the hood. What do we got? Here we go. Drum roll, please. Now, we could have a 421. Could have a 389. No 6s in the full-size Catalina. So 389 or 421. What do we got? Okay, well, it is a V8. There's an air cleaner in place, and okay, that's a 2-barrel carburetor, which tells us this is the base 389 two-barrel. Now, when it's coupled with an automatic, as we have here, 267 horsepower, but with a 3-speed manual, 235 horsepower. Kind of weird. Now, this carburetor is a Rochester 2CG. The C refers to the choke, this guy right here, and any 421 Pontiac Tri-Power or GTO Tri-Power has one of these in the middle. And again, it's called a 2CG when it has a choke. The outboard carburetors are called 2Gs. So again, this is a third of a Tri-Power, but unfortunately, this is not a 421, not a 389 Trophy Tri-Power. This is the basic 389, 300 or 267 horsepower base engine with an automatic, but no big options on this one here. I don't see air conditioning. It does have, do I see power steering? Yeah, power steering pump, there it is right there. An alternator, second year, 1964. 63 was the first year that alternators replaced generators on pretty much all General Motors cars. And this is crazy here. This air cleaner, the basic stamping was shared with Chevrolet. The long snorkel is a Pontiac thing, but look at that rust. Massachusetts rust just doesn't quit. Look at that. That's unbelievable. But again, this is the original air cleaner was sat right like that. Now this does have the stacked headlights, which were a Pontiac styling trait from 63 through 67 here for the second year. And it still has the original T3 guide headlights. The T3 means tilt 3 degrees down and out for proper alignment to prevent blinding oncoming drivers. But this 64 Catalina is, this is a mainstay. 60+% of all Pontiacs in 64 were full-size models. Now that would change as the mid-sized A-body, the Tempest, the Le Mans, the GTO started to take a bigger and bigger bite out of the Pontiac sales picture, which is fine, really. But these are popular cars, something like 75,000 two-door posts like this. Now 63 was the year you could get a Swiss cheese Catalina with aluminum fenders and hoods and bumpers and plastic windows. 64 GM got out of racing, so this is all steel. These are heavy cars. This is probably 3,900 pounds. But something kind of cool right here is an option book here showing the various engines that were possible for 1964. This is the Your Price Authority Auto Blue Book, 64 car prices. So inside here, we'll see the engine possibilities right here, the different 389s, the 421s, and the prices thereof. The top dog, 370 horsepower 421, $375. That was the dealer price, or the gross, I should say, and it was $302 net. So the dealer only made 73 bucks on the 421 Trophy. So be it. Other goodies in here are kind of cool. These are other options. You could get dual exhaust on any car for a mere $30.80. Right there. You can get it on any engine, even the two-barrel. Kind of weird. The safety track differential, $42.50, well spent. And down here at the bottom, there it is, wheel drums and hubs, aluminum, 137 bucks right there. Available on all full-size Pontiacs. But the funny thing is, the aluminum wheels, the 8-lug stuff, the hubs, was never available on the mid-size GTO, despite the fact that I think in 66, there was a GTO ad. It said, walk softly, carry a big stick. And they showed a burgundy GTO with airbrushed 8-lug wheels on it. Never happened in production. Strictly speaking, the 8-lug wheels and aluminum drums are only on full-size cars up till 69 as an option. Not seen here. But again, a nice look here at a fairly well-preserved 64 Catalina, two-door hardtop. How cool would this be to make a NASCAR tribute out of? It doesn't look that rusty. So let's hope something positive happens to this car. But in the meantime, it's safe here at Bernardston Auto Wrecking. They don't crush here. These cars sit. They're kind of in frozen animation. Let's hope something good happens here. But if you like this video and want to see more, well, say subscribe or do subscribe to the Steve Maggie YouTube channel.